everyone, and welcome back, guys, to episode 4 of my F1 2017 McLaren Honda career mode, guys. And today we're here for the Russian Grand Prix, the first race of the European phase of the season, guys. And if you did miss out on last episode, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It was a fairly interesting race. I think the right way to describe it was McLaren-esque, I think is probably the fairest way to put it, guys. So there will be spoilers now. The engine basically reached a point where we're going to have to replace it for this race. The the ICE was actually one of the worst fairing bits, as well as the MGU-K. So what we're going to do, rather than just replacing one part for the Russian Grand Prix at the start of the European phase of the season, we are going to fully replace every single engine part in this McLaren Honda. We should only get a 5-place grid penalty because of the gearbox, because obviously we haven't been able to take that to Monaco. But I'm sort of there, like, you know, we're qualifying way down the order anyway. I might as well just, you know, start 3 more places back and have a fresh engine quite often in this series, guys. That, you know, should give me a lot more power as we come into the next couple of rounds of the season, guys. And obviously we need to earn lots and lots of R&D points to obviously make sure that, you know, we're still actually making it worth a while, guys. You can see coming through the first few of the practice programs there, we got purple score on the first 2 programs there, and coming through the third one, the fuel saving, and it should be another purple score there. So that's already 150 R&D points in the bag there, already quite nice and quickly. And as we come through to finish off my qualifying simulation run as well, hoping, you know, usually this one's only 30 R&D points at the moment, which it is once more there, guys. And obviously at the end of the session there, that's going to be near enough 200 R&D points, including session objectives that we are able to take home from free practice there, you know, which will give us a helping hand, you know, further towards trying to improve this car, guys. And that's, you know, sort of the main aim for at least, you know, Season 1 and potentially some of Season 2 as well, guys. You know, it's going to be a long way before we are solidly, you know, fighting right at the very front, which, you know, obviously what we want to be aiming for in this career mode, guys. But yeah, just obviously confirming that we have obviously swapped in some new parts as well. I accidentally forgot to do the gearbox in free practice there, but obviously moving on into qualifying, just going to give it a little less, obviously, where, especially, you know, trying to save that gearbox as much as possible, guys. So we are going to get a 5-place grid penalty. Because of that, though, not exactly ideal, but, you know, sometimes what can you do? But at the Russian Grand Prix then, qualifying was a very, very wet affair, guys. You know, that actually, you know, usually that fills you with dread, but actually where we saw at China, I think it was, the car was actually behaving and being a lot more competitive in the damper conditions. You know, this is the first time we've experienced heavy wet conditions on this game, but I'm still, you know, this McLaren Honda seems to suit these conditions a lot more. As we come through the final corner, we actually go over to P2 provisionally, obviously, in qualifying there. We will go a lot further down the order as Raikkonen already goes quicker than me there. But having a look, you know, fast forwarding through the rest of the session, guys, we were actually remaining, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, right at the very top, because we just weren't, but we were not actually that too badly off the pace, you know, as you can see. Skipping on right towards the end of the session there, guys. It's actually going to be, I think, P13 at the end of qualifying for the Russian Grand Prix there. So very, very happy with that. Sebastian Vettel on the pole, with Felipe Massa forever seem to be pushing further and further forward in these qualifying sessions. On the front row of the grid, Lewis Hamilton there, who hasn't really been on fine form at the start of this season, will be P3 as well, guys. But we're starting, unfortunately, P18 on the grid still, but, you know, we've got the pace, I think, to be really sort of, you know, hassling the top 10, guys. You know, if we see some interesting race strategies come out, I reckon points could be on the cards for the second time this season, as long as obviously it is a little bit damper. But having a look then, obviously, once more at the starting grid, guys, you can see in the background, it is actually raining for the Russian Grand Prix there, which does really, really help me out, you know. Light drizzle as well, which I probably feel is actually the strongest for this McLaren Honda at the moment in time, guys. I've altered the setup slightly, so we are running ever so slightly less aero than the rest of the field, because obviously we have got a very, very good aero kit on this car. So, you know, we're trying to, you know, sort of reduce the impact of other things, and, you know, sort of trying to level out the playing field as well as we possibly can, guys. But here then, for the Russian Grand Prix, it's going to be actually light drizzle all the way throughout this Grand Prix. So, you know, this really couldn't have got much better for myself. I'm going to overfuel the car ever so slightly for this race, and I'm not going to try and go for a particularly aggressive strategy either end of the spectrum, guys. But, you know, just want to have that little bit of extra race fuel if we do need it further on down the line during this Grand Prix, guys. You know, hopefully that can really help me out if it does matter at certain points, guys. But ready then for the Russian Grand Prix, guys. On the grid, ready for the start. You're hoping, you know, points could be on the cards today, guys. But it's 5 lights for the Russian Grand Prix. And it is lights out. And away we go. And off once more to a very, very wheel spinny start. Trying to get the power down. Actually, one of my best starts so far this season as we come down through this turn 1 kink. A little bit of contact between a couple of cars. I make a bit of contact with my teammate Van Dorn there on the exit of turn 1 there. But down in towards turn 2, braking as late as we dare. Going to try and follow Ocon through a little bit there. Hulkenberg tries to shut the door on me there. Squeezes him out wide over the curbs. And we've already made up a handful of positions back up into my qualifying position already in this Russian Grand Prix there. P13 in the race. Very, very ideal. Obviously, we just want to try and make up positions nice and early on, so, you know, we don't try and have to worry about them later on down the line, guys. In this Grand Prix, you can see this start has been very, very solid. We're already right on the gearbox of Esteban Ocon, you know, and this is going to be an interesting test to see how well the AI do fare in wet conditions. Obviously, a lot of fuel on the car at this moment in time during the Grand Prix as we come through in towards the final sector of the lap. They're completely botching up that run through the final chicane there. I can only apologise for that disgusting line. But, you know, we're right all over the gearbox now of Esteban Ocon as we're going to have a look down the inside in towards the final couple of corners there. We do go down the inside, squeeze them out wide over the curbs, and now up into P12 of this German Grand Prix? The Russian Grand Prix. We do go there, guys. Very, very happy with that. And, you know, we're already making big gains in this race. And next up on my hit list will be the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, guys. See, skipping on to the end of lap 3 here, and we finally caught up to the Haas driver here, and he gets very terrible drive out of the final corner there, all over the curbs, and we're just able to try and put the power down. But unfortunately, you can see, obviously, Ferrari power unit, Honda power unit, it doesn't really take too much to realise just how slow this car still is down the straight. So we're going to have a look up the inside in towards turn 1. They're locking up both rear brakes there. Magnussen going to be able to try and look right around the outside there, but we do get the power down a lot earlier than him, and now up into P11 we go in this Grand Prix here. So, you know, the AI really struggling to try and put the power down at this moment in time, but now we've got the hunt now down for Sergio Perez, who is a few seconds up the road, but by lap 9 we have closed down this gap to, you know, near enough right on his rear end, guys. You know, at this moment in time, it's looking like this was the perfect opportunity, you know, we've obviously gambled it with it changing the engine, and it is looking like it is really helping us out at this moment in time, guys. You know, just trying to future-proof this car a little bit more as Perez makes a mistake through turn 3. We're going to try and pounce on that opportunity, go up the inside in towards turn 4 there. A little bit of contact is made with our rear wheels, but now I move up into the points of the Russian Grand Prix there. Very happy with that. And, you know, all we're doing at the moment is just trying to make gains in this Grand Prix. Leave myself in a stronger position further on down the line, guys. See, skipping on towards the back straight of lap 9 here. And Sebastian Vettel actually now has fallen to the wayside in this Grand Prix there. He was actually leading the race. So definitely not what the Ferrari driver wanted there. And, you know, he'll be so gutted there, questioning the reliability. You know, he hasn't even made it to lap 10 of this Grand Prix, guys. But I'm not really complaining too much. You know, it's given me another position there. And up into P9 we do go in this Grand Prix, guys. But we're getting closer and closer to the point of the Grand Prix, you know, where the strategies will be starting to come into play. As you can see, skipping on to lap 12 here. You know, the pit window is about to open for myself. But, you know, we're still feeling very confident on this original set of tyres. Still feeling a bit quicker than the AI. Sainz all over the shop a little bit through there. We're going to try and have a little bit of a late lunge down his inside there. Unfortunately, not able to make that position stick, and still kicking out the back end on the exit of the corner there. Brilliant fun. You know, when the back end snaps and you are just about able to save it on full lock there, guys. But in the slipstream of the Toro Rosso driver down in towards the final sector of this lap, and we're going to dive it once more down the inside of him there, up into P8 of the Grand Prix there. The back end kicking out absolutely massively there, but Sainz does back out there very early. A little bit disappointing to see there, but, you know, Sainz going for a bit of a wise decision there, you know, try and back out. Didn't want to be going side by side with me for too long there, as the back end is still all over the shop. Heavy fuel, you know, still on this car, and quite a rear ballast still, so, you know, we're trying to cope with the back end still, and coming through now 1 lap later, and it is the start of the pit stop phase for a lot of drivers here. We're going to move up into P5 of the Grand Prix there. Lewis Hamilton will come out comfortably ahead of me at this moment in time during the Grand Prix, guys. And just one lap later, you know, a lot more drivers are now coming through once more as we're still fighting the back end in this Grand Prix. And we're now up into P2 of this Grand Prix, guys. And I was looking at it, and the tyre wear at the moment, we're over halfway through the race, and the tyre wear is only at 40%, guys. So I was trying to do the mental maths in my head, and I worked out tyre wear roughly will get to about 77, 78% by the end of the Grand Prix. Obviously, I've never really pushed tyres as far as they will go on this F1 2017 game, guys. But we're really considering trying to gamble it now over the next few laps of this Grand Prix. You know, I'm not really going to try and hold up the AI behind me, you know, of the likes of Raikkonen, Bottas, and obviously the Red Bull cars as well. You know, there's no point trying to hold them up for as long as we possibly can. You know, all we're going to do is cost myself time. But, you know, I was thinking, with the way the pace was looking and the track still drying out, these tyres were still faring very, very well as we're going to back out there. Let Kimi Raikkonen just fly past me there down in towards the heavy braking zone at the start of Sector 3 there. But as I was saying, the tyre wear was still looking very, very good. Obviously, at this moment in time of the Grand Prix, you are allowed to just take the tyres as far as you possibly can in wet races, guys. You know, there's no mandatory pit stops. You know, if you want to gamble it, you can gamble it, guys. See, a couple of laps later, Valtteri Bottas there flying it down my inside. He was a little bit aggressive with that, you know, I won't lie, but we've got 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and the gap to Felipe Massa behind me, you know, is coming down at the moment, but he's got about 3 cars there who are all very, very much closing in on myself at this moment in time during the Grand Prix there, guys. And I was thinking at this moment, if we can hold on ahead of them, that would be a crazy, crazy result in the Russian Grand Prix there, guys. And having a look at the gaps, you know, we're just trying to monitor these gaps, see if these guys are closing down. You can see the gap down another 0.8 of a second there, I'm not mistaken, in just 1 lap. So this was looking very, very tight at this moment in time, guys. And 1 lap skipping on. Furthermore, the back end is starting to kick out even more as the tyre wear is starting to get a little bit worse for wear at this moment in time. The gap coming down another few tenths of a second on that lap here, guys. But it was looking very, very tight between myself and Felipe Massa in the later stages of this Grand Prix. And now onto lap 22 here, and you know, the tyres starting to, you know, really sort of feel this wear, and I'm just sort of there like, have I made the wrong decision at this moment in time during the Grand Prix, you know? But I was running in about P8 at the race at that moment in time there, but these yellow flags out behind me now, and I think that is Felipe Massa that has pulled off to the side of the circuit there. That will not be what he would have wanted in this Grand Prix, but that little virtual safety car, very, very helpful for myself. You know, it just gives me a couple of extra seconds of time there. As you see on the live time, is Verstappen has lost that a good couple of seconds there from that little instant. If you obviously, that's given me a little bit more breathing space further on in this Grand Prix. And, you know, I was feeling like this could be the race of the season for McLaren Honda. You know, at this moment in time, I was getting really, really excited. You know, P4 in this Grand Prix would be an absolutely crazy result, guys. We skip on to the start of lap 26 here, and now Verstappen, like, he's really, really pushing now. The gap down to just 4 seconds, just a couple of laps later here. So, you know, I thought for a couple of laps, you know, we might have a bit of a safety, guys, but Verstappen is still really, really pushing to try and close down the gap. As you see, coming into turn 2, locking up the front tyres there ever so slightly, and, you know, we just need to try and make 0 mistakes to the end of the Grand Prix, guys. But coming through turn 3 there, we get an absolutely huge slide there, full opposite lock through the corner there. Somehow we keep it facing around the right direction, guys. But let's have a look at that on the slow motion here. The back end's already gone out there. This is about the time where I tried to save it, but I get caught over the curbs there. The back end kicking out more and more and more there, but I somehow keep it facing the right direction there, guys. But that has certainly not done any significant good to the rear tyres there. You know, tyre wear, it'll have cost me time, it'll have cost me there, and I really thought, you know, that mistake will have cost me the position to Max Verstappen, you know, in the dying seconds of this Grand Prix, guys. You know, he's still about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds back from me, but we've got to try and potentially get past the Sauber car of Marcus Ericsson, guys, as we skip on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. The tyres up to 78% wear here, so, you know, there is next to 0 grip left on these tyres, guys. You know, we're just trying to drag them now right to the very end. You know, once you commit to a strategy, you know, you got to stick to it here. As you can see, the final lap of the Grand Prix, Verstappen now is all in my rearview mirror here, and you know, I just need to try and hold on for as much as I possibly can, guys. As Verline here making a little bit of a mistake through turn 3 there, and now he's all over the place, just ahead of me there, gets all in the front of me there, and that is definitely not what I wanted there. That will cost me even more time there, and unfortunately for me, you know, he just lets Verstappen through. So Verstappen now all over my gearbox here as we come through halfway around the final lap of this Russian Grand Prix. You know, he's got much grippier tyres, he's got a much quicker car. That Red Bull car, probably the only one better suited to the rain than this McLaren Honda. You know, both got a very, very solid chassis, guys, as we come through in towards the final sector of this Grand Prix. Verstappen still won't have the luxury of DRS there as the back end still kicking out more and more, but you know, he's got a slightly more powerful car than myself in this McLaren Honda, guys, and he's gaining on me down at this his final big chance of trying to make a move in this Grand Prix, but unfortunately there, Max Verstappen not able to get past me there. He's all over my gearbox there as I make a mistake through the next corner there. He gets a little bit of a look there, but I do get better drive out of the corner there, guys. But Lewis Hamilton has come through to win the Russian Grand Prix there, and I just do not care at this moment in time. You know, I'm still trying to drag this McLaren Honda car through the final couple of corners there. Verstappen seems to have lost out on a couple of tenths there, guys, in the final few corners of the Grand Prix, and we are going to come through for P4 in this McLaren Honda, flick spinning it around the line there, guys, and that is such a crazy, crazy result.
Brilliant stuff from Mercedes today. That's another historic win. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
So as I say that, we can see the drivers coming out now to collect their trophies. It's yet more silverware to take back to their base in Brackley after another excellent Grand Prix. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Valtteri Bottas takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after an excellent result. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Today, I'm going to give it to the McLaren driver. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
On to the constructors then. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling instalment of this Formula One season.
There we are then, guys, though. Driver of the day, that is all that really matters. But 12 points in the bag from one of the riskiest strategies I think I've ever done in a Formula One race there. You know, we took this McLaren from P18 on the grid to finish at P4, and having a look at the standings, that'll give me a huge boost there of 12 extra points. We've given ourselves 6 times more points in that one race than we scored any other point, obviously, in the season so far, guys. That is actually, as well, the highest finish ever for a McLaren Honda car, you know, when it relative to real life as well, guys. So very, very happy with that. And obviously up to P11 we go in the driver's standings. My teammate Van Dorn still, unfortunately, sat on 0 points there. And in the constructors, we move past Toro Rosso and Renault, guys. But hopefully, you know, you guys have enjoyed this crazy, crazy race. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more of my F1 2017 career mode, guys. And I will see you next time for a brand new video.
Yeah.